Recording in progress.
Okay, my name is Judge Tamika West Bernard, and I'm officially calling the state of Georgia versus Maurice Marcellus Brown for warrant number 2023 WA 01506 for obstruction of an officer. Warrant number 2023 WA 01507 for the charge of possession of marijuana 1 ounce or less. Warrant number 2023 WA 01508 for violation of Georgia Controlled Substance Act. Warrant number 2023 WA 01509 violation of Georgia Controlled Substance Act. That will conclude the charges pending against Mr. Brown. The state will be represented by ADA Cheryl Freeman. The defendant, Mr. Brown, is represented by Attorney Tiffany Pleasant. ADA Freeman, please call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer speakers, would you raise your right hand, please? You swear and affirm that the testimony about to provide in the matter of state of Georgia versus Maurice Brown will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand. Please place your name and how you're employed.
I'm Officer Jay Stiggers, Jonesboro Police Department's patrol officer.
How long have you worked with the Jonesboro Police Department?
3.5 years, approximately.
And were you, Judge, can we mute the video?
Yes.
Thank you. Officer Stiggers, were you working with the Jonesboro Police Department on January 10th of 2023?
That's correct.
On that particular day, did you have occasion to stop the defendant Maurice Brown driving the vehicle?
I did.
Do you recall what type of vehicle that was?
It was a white in color Infiniti.
Why did you stop Mr. Brown in this car?
Mr. Brown was stopped because Mr. Brown proceeded up a street that has signage that advised wrong way if you go the direction he was going, and he proceeded to continue through the street going the wrong way, driving on the wrong side of the road.
Do you recall which street that was?
The name of the street is Key Street.
Was anyone else in the vehicle with Mr. Brown?
That's no.
Tell us what happened when you pulled Mr. Brown over.
Upon making contact with Mr. Brown was asked if he had his driver's license. Mr. Brown advised he did not have it with him. Mr. Brown advised his name was Cardell Brown with a date of birth of 9/8/1982. Upon conducting the inquiry of his information, it did not come back on file.
Did you eventually have Mr. Brown step out of the vehicle?
I did eventually ask Mr. Brown to step out of the vehicle, and while speaking to Mr. Brown, I advised him and asked him several times if he had a driver's license. He said he didn't have his information won't come back on the system. I advised him that the information still come back in the system if he had a driver's license somewhere. The Brown then said he never fully got his driver's license from any state. So at that time, I advised Mr. Brown that he was under arrest for operating a motor vehicle without a driver's license.
What happened after you told Mr. Brown that he was under arrest for that?
Mr. Brown was placed in handcuffs, and Mr. Brown, I was advised by my colleague to try to run his name again. So my colleague was going to take and transport Mr. Brown for me. So Mr. Brown was being escorted to my colleague's vehicle, at which time I was already in my vehicle attempting to run his information again. And I heard the colleague call out my name, and I looked up, and Mr. Brown was running off through the wood line in an attempt to escape from our custody.
Was Mr. Brown eventually apprehended?
That's correct. He was. Shortly after apprehending, I myself gave pursuit and made contact with Mr. Brown the next street over.
Was there a search done of the vehicle?
Yes, correct. A search was conducted of the vehicle. Upon conducting that search of that vehicle, in the center console, just by the driver's seat, a black Ziploc bag containing marijuana was located. And further conducting further search of the vehicle, in the back seat, a book bag was located. Within that book bag, there was an orange pill bottle with a partial label peeled off, containing approximately 29 pills of oxycodone, as well as a small Ziploc, usually the size where you put earrings or something in, with crystal-like substance and showing to be crystal meth.
And Officer Stickers, just so we're clear, the crystal meth, was that field tested there on the scene?
It was not field tested on the scene due to I did not have a field test kit at the time.
Why did you believe it to be crystal meth?
Based on my knowledge and training and me having dealt with this particular substance in the past, it resembled the same.
Okay, and the oxycodone pills, how did you determine that those were oxycodone pills?
I was able to determine those by the numbering on the pills themselves. They were numbered to have stamped in the M523 and another to have 10-325, which are commonly known to be oxycodone.
The substance that you found that you believe to be marijuana, why did you believe that to be marijuana?
Based on this resemblance of the common being, based on my training experience of dealing with marijuana on a regular basis and it having the same odor and appearance.
Okay. Did Mr. Brown make any statements regarding the narcotics that were found?
He did not at the time. He was still out of breath after running and trying to escape.
Did all this happen in Clayton County?
That's correct, he did.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Attorney Pleasant, your witness.
Yes, Officer Stiggers, the basis of the instruction is that my client fled from you?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any reason why you charged it as a felony as opposed to a misdemeanor?
But the base on the instruction was, let me correct that. The base on the instruction was that he gave me false name as well as fleeing from me.
Okay, and those are still misdemeanors, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Who's the vehicle that he was allegedly operating? Who's it registered to?
It came at registered out of Ohio, so we can't fully see in our system the name of the person it was registered to, but he advised it wasn't his vehicle.
And the book bag that you testified you located in the back seat of the car that's not belonging to my client, did you find anything identifying who owned the book bag?
I did not, but he was the sole occupant of that vehicle.
He was the sole occupant of a vehicle that did not belong to him?
Well, he took possession of the vehicles, and if you take possession of the vehicle, you take possession of everything in it.
Did he claim ownership of the book bag?
No, he said the vehicle was in his use because he told me that he was using the vehicle under the permission of whoever gave him permission to use the vehicle.
And you were not able to receive the name of the person who the vehicle belongs to?
I was not.
Did my client make any other statements with regards to these charges that you brought forward?
No, he did not. He just took off running.
And did he claim ownership of anything in that car?
He did not.
Thank you. That's all I have at this time.
Okay. ADA Freeman.
The state rests, Judge.
Okay. Attorney Pleasant, do you have any witnesses?
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay, we're ready for closing. ADA Freeman.
State waives opening.
Okay. Attorney Pleasant.
Your Honor, obviously I will ask that the obstruction be reduced to a misdemeanor just based on the officer's testimony. Simply fleeing and giving a false name, those are not felonies. It should not be charged as such. With respect to the officer, where he testified that based on his training, knowledge, and experience, he's able to identify the drugs in the car, but he did not give any testimony as to what his training, knowledge, and experience is. There is nothing before this court that identifies properly that my client was in possession of anything. The vehicle is not registered to him. He was driving a vehicle that was given to him to drive. There's no identifying information in the backpack that shows that backpack belonged to him. He did not claim possession of anything, possession or ownership of anything in that vehicle. And as the officer again did not identify what his training, knowledge, and experience is. There's no indication that there was actually any crystal meth or marijuana or oxycodone in the car. And I'd ask that all charges be dismissed against my client.
Okay, 88 Freeman.
Thank you, Judge. We're asking that all the charges be bound over to Superior Court, and I certainly agree with Attorney Pleasant. The obstruction should be a misdemeanor. I believe, based on what Officer Stigger said, the false name as well as running from the officer would certainly be a misdemeanor obstruction. Officer Stigger did testify that he had been an officer, police officer with Jonesboro Police Department for 3 years, and he did say, based on his training, experience, and knowledge, regarding the crystal meth, he talked about the appearance of it. He talked about the also the appearance and smell of marijuana, and he also testified regarding oxycodone, the number listed on the pills. So we are asking that all of these charges are bound over to Superior Court.
Okay. Based on the evidence and testimony presented by the parties, I do find sufficient cause to bind over all charges to Superior Court with respect to warrant number 2023WA0150506. I do find sufficient evidence to reduce that from a felony to a misdemeanor. That is the order of the court today, and that will conclude the preliminary hearing for Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Judge. May Officer Stiggers be excused?
Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Stiggers.
Okay, I believe the next case we have is Copeland.
Yes, Judge, Copeland is with, but I may have to work on getting that officer. I know I have